Because you got what you want from me, so you're saying, hey, I no longer need you in this country. I say, oh my goodness, I'm not working for you. For all of them years, hear me children, they're born and grow. You ungrateful son of a so and so, telling me no how. Thank you.
I was here at the very first Heal Our Broken Village conference. I helped set it up, and as I said when I spoke earlier, it was an honour and a pleasure to be back here 10 years later, to be part of a trust and the community leaders and Malik and Darren trailblazing what community engagement and co-production should look like.
10 years ago, I was working for this trust as a community development worker, and one of the first things we did was to try to engage with black and minority ethnic communities. So I got in, I linked with Malik at the One Source Community Empowerment Network and with New Testament Assembly, and then we took this conference they had, and then we planned, I think we should have it every year, and then we will see the outcome of each year conference, and then we followed it up, and then we built, and some of the things that came out of it is, for example, the mental health, BME Mental Health Forum came out of this, the pastoral network came out of here, the community champions came out of it, and many other initiatives came out of the Healing Our Broken Village.
So I used to work at South West London in St George's, and I used to work very closely with Darren and Judith. I wasn't directly involved in it at the time, but I was here in the infancy, so it was quite nice coming back today just to see how far the work has progressed. So I used to work as a general manager, and I used to manage the IAP services which Darren worked in. And so it's really nice to come back and just see how far we've moved along. And I'm now working in a different part of the NHS in North East London. And so I feel quite inspired today, which I really felt I needed, seeing all the different pieces of work. Especially I was really moved by the Black Health Matters skit. And my role now is that I work in commissioning, and we support CCGs to commission services. And as I said during the conference, I'd really like to see how we can commission different types of services, because what we're currently doing perhaps isn't meeting that need. So I feel reignited to do something different.
We want to talk, but none of you can hear us because you're not listening. We want you to listen to us, but you're not listening. So we incarcerate our voices in hellholes while our thoughts eat out the depths of our soul. Are you listening?
You know, they say they that know it, feel it, like they that feel it, you know a pain. Experience is something that you can't act out. You've got to know it to live it. And I think the beauty of being able to act out something that's real life is that then everyone can share your pain. Everyone knows your story. Everyone can relate to what you've been through. And a lot of the time is that our lips are sealed. So all of us are probably going through the same pain. But because we've not shared it with anyone and because we've not spoken to it with anybody, nobody knows. So everyone's suffering in silence. But it's when you're able to speak out your pain and speak out your experience, that's when everybody else starts speaking out. And that is the beauty and that is the power, is that when one person says it, then the other one person will feel encouraged, momentum, and then you just raise, and then you know, you start raising up, and then everyone starts speaking, everyone starts sharing, and then you start finding out you've got a lot in common with people. And that is the beauty of communication, that's the beauty of sharing, that's the beauty of experience.
I think you get through to people on a variety of different levels, and I think for some people they're into hearing facts and figures and what's happening, but I think with the young people and the dramatisation, that can really speak to a lot of people as well as young people, and it's very impactful. A lot of people said they were quite emotional after the young people had performed, so I just think it's a really good format to have entertainment and different levels of interaction with people, as well as the facts, the figures, the visual exhibition as well. I think it's really great to have all these multi-layered elements of a conference.
And this conference was amazing. It's my first one, and just the timing of everything was perfect. I've recently come back from Jamaica, and one of the things that we were doing was just discussing the history of my aunts and my mum, my uncle, and they were revealing things that I'd never known. And through them speaking their stories, I recognised the issues that I was facing, the issues that my parents were facing, and that came from me just sitting down and listening to stories, and then to hear the stories through that piece by Black Minds Matter. It just really made me just resonated with me that we need to speak. True healing, true understanding comes from when we listen to the stories of the past, not to condemn them, not to rebuke them like our sister said, but to actually just think and listen. So I've left, the funeral in Jamaica, and I've left here with a better understanding of who I am and what I've avoided because people have spoken.
I get to see some of the real experiences that people have and how that translates into some of the problems that they face, and then from what I can see from that is then some of the solutions that we can use to be able to help people, rather than it just the same old things that we say, well, this is what the NHS provides, and you start to see some of the things that we could really do that has a difference. And I think this is kind of like a tipping point. So the montage that you've produced that's showing 10 years of it, there's now, I think, is the time where we're going to start seeing some of those changes, and we're going to actually see a reduction in some of the things that we want to do, and some of the inequalities. It's not just a health service, it's all of us working together. We can't, it's not just one organisations or one person's. These things are societal issues, and I think this is where we're coming together and working, is start to see some of the impact of that. We see some difference.
What I took away from today was a sense of community across the board, all different ages. I was really inspired by the young people and their play and their presentation and the knowledge that they had about the subject matter. I was really inspired by that. They weren't just talking about it as a kind of a gut reaction to it. They actually understood it and did research about what they were talking about, and I was really inspired by that. And I was inspired by the organisers, the level of reaching out they're doing, the organisations they're working with. So yeah, I didn't know this kind of work was going on to this level, so it was an eye-opener for me. So
we're hoping to raise up young Black leaders to go out into places like the NHS where you hardly see any Black people, so that they can create the platform for raising for younger people, for the younger generation, the younger Black people to step up, because we as a people, we've become so comfortable in this discomfort, and so there's no opportunities for us. So every time we want to go somewhere, we can't get in there, we can't get our foot through the door because we're capable, but we can't get our foot through the door because there's no one to, there's not that leeway, there's not that grace. So by using Black Minds Matter, it's raising up leaders to go into these places so that they can then lift up other young people, and then the work just continue. So a bit like a seed, put a seed in the ground, you've only got to put it in once and you've got to water it. So it's a bit like that, yeah.
So what do you think where you stand today with the new projects that you've introduced, like Black Minds Matters? What's your hopes then for healing that broken village, as it would be?
I suppose one of the good things over the last 10 years, even though we haven't really been able to move the needle on the key variables of inequalities, I suppose one of the things that we have achieved over the last 10 years is that we've built a movement, or what we will call a coalition of the willing, that actually now there's many more people from across diverse communities who are stronger together. I mean, one of the things when I looked at the early videos is this church was half full. And now when you look at the videos from last year and this year, it's downstairs and upstairs is full. So I suppose one of the things we have achieved is we've achieved a stronger network and coalition. And what I'm hoping for is the 10 years of coalition building, which is essentially what we've been doing, that coalition is now strong enough for the next 10 years to be able to support and enable and empower our public institutions to start moving the needle on key variables and inequality variables.
Malik described that they are our future, so they should be the ones that are doing the mental health first aid for their peers. That is just absolutely the right way. I want to see them in 10 years. I want to see them up on the stage saying what they've done in 10 years, not me. You know, it's their voice that's important, because if their voice is heard, then they will be teaching the next generation and so forth.
Our contribution to Britain and beyond, and that our history doesn't start with slavery, you know. Our history starts thousands of years before that, and we often look at black history as resistance, fighting back, whether it's slavery fighting back, or whether it's Martin Luther King, and that's wonderful, that whole period of civil rights, I get that, but that is not our history, it's a part of it. And there are what I call the G days, which means the golden days. We never look at the golden days. We don't look at civilizations or artwork or architecture. Just look at the architecture for what it is, as great architecture. And then great literature, as opposed to we're fighting against, like we're always talking about our interaction with Europeans. Just talk about ourselves as ourselves. This is what we need to talk about a lot more.
I think we're seeing a start of it, and I was privileged to be invited into some of it in the summer, and saw the just the energy that is there. And I think this, you know, we've got to reach at both ends. So how do the younger people help the older people, and how the older people help the younger people? So the black minds matter. I'm getting the thing confused now. It's a powerful symbol around things. But you know, I've had people coming up to me tonight and saying, "Oh, I work in Croydon, or I work in Lewisham. This is amazing what's happening. How can we spread this out?" I think that's what we've got to do as well, spread that out wider.